So I'm gonna tell y'all about this. This is a story that came out from France. Apparently, not many I could not find anything in English for it. I did find this from a specific podcast. I'll just kind of generally go over the parts of it before I watch it. But long story short, a guy he had a explosive from World War I, and before I continue the rest, think about the history where most likely this dude's granddad and or great granddad or some relative fought in World War I. He stayed in trenches for months, maybe years, filled with rats, with like barely any supplies, starving all the time, hearing like gunshots as well as bombs being blown up almost 24/7, occasionally having like charges to kill the enemies and bayonets, and digging tunnels for pretty much about 4 or so years maybe. But this is I think it was the Western Front in that France fought, but think about all that. They also had like planes and all that. So imagine you're seeing all your friends die, you're seeing a lot of bad stuff happening, and then you take this old relic, well, I guess new relic at the time, into your family's home most likely. And he probably kept it as some prized possession. And yes, it technically is illegal to hold a quite literally explosive device from World War I. But I could give his granddad or whoever props because he probably was forced to fight in the war and he probably at least wanted to keep something from it. And so on. This guy, I don't know how he got it in his butt exactly, but he managed to get an explosive device set up in his butt. I believe it's through like I'm gonna say I'm gonna assume it's because he tried to pleasure himself or he did some absolutely stupid decision that led to it getting in there. So afterward, he went to a hospital and the doctors found out like, hey, this guy doesn't just have pain in his ass. He quite literally has a metal explosive device inside of his ass. And then this is where the story is gonna start. But just so you guys know that, I think that's entirely disrespectful, like in a way, because like his granddad probably fought in a war. And then if you think about it, this is most likely the most recent news from World War I in a long ass time. All those everyone who fought in it is I'm gonna assume they're all almost dead at this point. Like there's probably barely a handful of people left who really were in that war. But yeah, so I take it as majorly disrespectful, like using that of all things. But we're gonna get into this. We're gonna hear what they say, and as always, this one's in French, so I'm gonna be translating what he says, and because like I could not find this anywhere else in English. But yeah, yeah. Which we responded in a Kamako way. Sod Radio today. Andre, tell us what happened on the night of January 31st. It was at the Ragel University Hospital, Tala House. Absolutely, it's absolutely a magnificent story. I mean, morality, moral. I'll tell you anyway. So the night of January 31st, a young man, 24 years old, showed up and he was in pain. Come on, let's be clear. He has a sore bottom. It happens. And so, in severe pain, the emergency room doctors took charge of him and the caregivers in the operating room and noticed that the patient had an obsessive stuck in his rectum. First of all, we're not going to get ourselves into how this object happened to get in him. That was a missile launch. It was a it was a continuation of war in Ukraine. Is this the Middle East? Is this Gaza? No, 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 no. It's an object from 141, so it's an object sensory. So they thought, wait, this is a true story. I assure you, we checked. It's not fake news. Well, they said, yes, be careful. There might be a risk of explosion. Can you imagine? Well, the firefighters arrived. We had only evacuated part of the hospital. The miners arrived. All this because someone had a gunshot wound where you think and so on. And so the man recovered well, and so we're happy it went well. The extraction went well. There you go. Exactly. Very good sound from our friend, Julian. And he questioned by the police as a part of the procedure of it for offense. To the sound again, Julian. There you go. That's a 141 caliber gun coming out of a rectum. Yes, that's important. From a specific point of view, he was questioned by the police as part of a procedure for brace yourselves, a violation of weapons legislation. Yeah, a violation of weapons legislation. Yeah, it's just having a literal fucking explosive inside of your ass. I get that the talk is important. Like, could you guys do it after the part where you take out the ass? Like, I think that's the most important part right now. That is questioning for after it happens, not question, not questioning for that. But that's magnificent. Yes, because you're here, a gun owner, and OBU was 16 centimeters. Andre, all right, he didn't have a permit to carry it. No, but it's still amazing. So he explained that he inserted the OBU into his rectum after using cocaine. Okay, now I get it. He used cocaine. Okay, that I'm not saying that makes the situation any better, but I'm at least saying at least then you know he was like at least then you know he was completely out of his mind and not doing it as a rational like thinking human being. At least he was doing it under the influence of drugs, which makes this in my opinion, I guess still bad, but like in my opinion, at least when he's on drugs, it makes it seem like he's far less far less bad if he thought, oh, let's do it without drugs. But Jesus. I thought cocaine wasn't for nostrils. Anyways, I don't know. There you go. There are nostril guys. There's a bit special. He was alone at the time. He stated that he went to the hospital on his own. You can imagine the explosion and so on. There you go. So it was an OBU, I must say, interesting one, that belonged to his family that had been there since the First World War. Yeah, belonged to his family, aka one of his grandfathers fought in World War One, had this relic. Most likely he died at some point, God bless his soul. And this is what you do with it. All the hard work, all the effort, all the nights constantly being bombed, all the days dealing with rats, with like rain, with all that bullshit, with trench foot, with seeing all your friends die and a bunch of dead bodies everywhere. All that time just for this to be the representation of your bloodline. A dude who thought it was a good idea to put that bomb in his butt. Man, that's just this just sad. This is actually sad to me. This is actually sad. Here we go. See how family traditions are renewed and all that. So, fortunately, the OBU was demilitarized, therefore harmless. And the young man, let's be clear, you see, he only gave good news. Here at Stud Radio, good news, good news. The young man will not be prosecuted because there is no criminal offense in this case. Well, thankfully, after the offense poor guy committed, had added another layer of suspicion. So he says, there you go. And we have to say to them, that's all there is fuss. You know, if we find it, it doesn't matter. We find it, and in what condition you have, notify the miners, because who can say that for sure the water has. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just like, oh man, it's just wacky. This is just too wacky, and it's quite honestly not something I would expect coming out of like I did not expect this news. I expect dumb stuff all the time, but man, not with that. Not with this. But his malpractice, since it was on the family, mal not to peace. It's demilitarized. There you go. Indeed, you see it. It was a tremendous alert in Tau House. SOS, SOS. And well, you see, Colleen from the time to time, there's our stories, you know, Andre, that in fact, this is sexual deviance. It must be said. It is one, it has a name, and it's called paraphilic, paraphilic disorder. Paraphilic. Yeah, so it must be specified in the case from isolated Andre, the emergency room, the doctors see it at least one a month. At least once a month? Wait, what? The doctors see it at least once a month? What kind of crazy ass town you live in, bro? Once a month? The fuck? Oh, oh fucking shit! This is so terrible. Once a month? Once a month? Oh, okay, whatever. Let's continue. Above all, he advises people to come for a constellation without shame and very quickly so that their life isn't actually at risk when we go see someone. But yeah, anyways, this is it for this. The story is actually real. And I don't know why. I don't know why I haven't seen any like English news stations cover this. This is wacky. This is as I said, like it at least makes it, this doesn't get any better. But like, what the hell? Like, you shove an explosive device up your ass. Thank God it was demilitarized. But like, still, that's so like, man, that just sucks. That just sucks. I feel bad for the granddad or the shot or like his father, because his father probably thinks his like dad, that his dad is the coolest motherfucker on the entire planet for fighting World War I. And there's a potential his father might have fought in World War II, or maybe that the granddad might have fought in World War II as well. But besides that, man, it's just sad. But yeah, this is it for this. And the sad part is this is the most recent World War I news I've seen. This is actually sad. I hope something else pops out, because if this is the last thing we see of it, man, it's gonna be sad. But this is all.